Good.
I have not.
So this is a bamboo aged version of the pu'er, okay? And this comes from a harvest sometime in the 1980s. Actually, the farmer, the producer, passed away in the 90s at some point, and so his cataloging system of his pu'ers was not the best. But we do know that this comes from the early to mid 1980s. That's when it was harvested originally. Okay, and has been aging in the bamboo since.
In this bamboo?
That's right. That's right. So what we do is we just take a knife very simply and split it open, and so that's what you see here. And then we store it in the same bamboo as well.
Right, very nice. Thank you.
Absolutely. So for those who haven't had pu'er in the past, the defining characteristic of pu'er tea is that it's been aged and fermented. Okay, hence me making note of the fact that it was harvested in the 80s. Now, all tea originally comes from the same plant. It's called the Emilia canensis plant. Now, what type of tea it becomes is dictated entirely by the preparation method after it's been picked. Right. So, when you have an apple or a pear and you cut it open, you leave it out for a bit, it starts to turn brown. Right. That's oxidation. The same thing works with tea. A black tea is a tea that's been fully oxidized. A green tea is a tea that after it's picked, you apply a little bit of heat to stop the oxidation process, and that's what makes it continue to be green. A white tea is a tea that has been picked prematurely, and then the oxidation process is stopped. Then you have oolong teas, which lie anywhere in between a green tea and a black tea. Some are more oxidized than others, depending on what style the producer chooses to make that oolong. And then you have pu'ers. And pu'ers are picked and then pressed into bamboo, or in other cases into cakes, and then they're left in cloth. So there's a couple different variations of pu'er. But during the aging process, it ferments from the inside out. So it's been fermenting in this until we opened it. So those are the defining characteristics, that it's pressed and then fermented and aged.
How long ago did you open it?
This one was opened earlier in the week. So you can see we've already used some of it from there. That's why you see some of the looser bits. Now, with these pu'ers and with a lot of oolongs and things like that, you can steep them multiple times, right? So I'm actually going to be doing 6 full steepings of this tea for you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine each of them into 3 separate servings. So you'll get the first and second steeping, then the third and fourth, and then the fifth and sixth. Now, this style of tea service is what's known as gong fu tea service, but it's not entirely or wholly traditional. We do have to adapt it to a certain degree for the restaurant and the restaurant atmosphere. So traditionally, they wouldn't necessarily combine the steepings like that. But again, for the sake of the service and of the restaurant, that sort of thing, you don't want me here for 45 minutes talking to you. I get pretty boring. I get pretty boring pretty quick.
You've done very well so far.
Good. I'm about at my end of things to talk about.
What's your personal favorite?
As far as pu'ers go, I do like the bamboo pu'er, especially compared to the cake style pu'er.
Yeah.
For me, the bamboo is much more elegant and much softer.
Yeah.
It's a bit more feminine in its style.
Yeah.
The cake pu'er can come a little bit too leathery for me. It's a real cigar smoker's tea. This tends to be a bit more elegant for me, and I prefer it. It happens to be Chef Daniel's favorite tea. He likes to drink this. Yeah.
I've actually never had bamboo fermented tea like pu'er.
Oh, good, excellent. You've seen it traditionally in the cake form.
Yeah. And like I've got a couple at my house. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's like sort of, even if you try to keep it, nicely kept, like it just kind of contacts the air too much.
Sure.
And some of them like turn out quite rancid after cooking.
So the first step of the process is just a rinsing of the tea leaves, just to help open everything up a little bit. You saw how tightly packed it was. You need to let it breathe just slightly and before you start to steep it.
What made you guys, the restaurant that is have it on the menu?
Well, for us, It's really the style of restaurant and how the structural. So you're going to get a much longer answer than you anticipated, I would imagine. So very often when you find in restaurants, particularly at a certain level, the vision of the restaurant and what you want to accomplish in the restaurant is driven by one or two people, usually the chef or the restaurateur or the owner or something like that. And what we value is really emphasizing individual talents within the staff. So for instance, we've got a guy who really loves coffee, and so we gave him a budget and we said, make us a really great coffee program.
Okay.
So you'll see some tableside preparations of coffee and things like that. Well, we did the same with one of our captains. His name is Chris Day, and tea. Chris is a really fantastic and has a really wide knowledge base as far as tea goes. But really what can be difficult in incorporating tea into restaurants is applying it and still keeping true to some of the traditions of the service and of the tea itself, and making sure that the quality, and you're paying, you're honoring the quality of the tea, and steeping it, brewing it correctly, that sort of thing. He's really, really fantastic at that translation, and he really championed us having these sorts of teas in the restaurant. It was really important to us that as a restaurant, we not only have fantastic food, but we have fantastic cocktails, we have fantastic beer lists, we have a great tea and coffee program, beverage all around, aside from just your traditional focus on food and wine. We really wanted to expand that as much as possible. So with that, you need specialization. So we give certain staff members what we call ownerships of certain programs, and that's where you get that individual attention that a tea program really needs. Right? You have your very classic wine director, sommelier, that sort of thing, as well as your chef, and they're the ones giving the attention needed to the food and to the wine, and that's how you make a really fantastic wine and food program, because you've got that individual attention. Well, our philosophy is that we should be giving that individual attention to each aspect of the restaurant. So that's the sort of long and not so short of it as far as how it came to be here.
Does everyone know how to do this?
Not everyone. It does come with a certain level once you've achieved a certain rank here in the restaurant. Typically, myself, I'm a dining room manager. I learned this service about 2 years ago, and typically it's the management staff who's doing it in the dining room, just because it is a bit time consuming and that sort of thing. So I'm using the rinse water again just to heat the cups up and get them primed. And I've got the first steeping going right now in the gaiwan.